I've still got to find out who and what I really am. I don't know yet. I'm trying to find the answer.
The great American artist of all
has
time.
a hard time bearing her soul in any way except through her
There
music.
is only one Aretha Franklin.
The Queen of Soul, Aretha Louise Franklin, a musical powerhouse who certainly left her mark on the world. With global sales of over 75 million records, she was the voice behind some of the most iconic songs in history, a feat which earned her the place of the first woman to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Though a larger-than-life performer whose renown extended far across the globe, Aretha offstage was a very private person who revealed little about her personal life and the many struggles she endured. Join me, your host Elysia, for another artist spotlight on WGLZ Radio, where we are passionately vocal, as we dive into the 6-decade-long career that made the legend that was Aretha Franklin. It could perhaps be said that music was destined to be a central part of Aretha's life, as her mother was a talented pianist and vocalist, and much of her family was very musical. Aretha had a love for performing arts, and even as a child, she was closer to stardom than she had perhaps realized. She grew up in the same neighborhood in Detroit as actress and singer Diana Ross, and Smokey Robinson, a professional musician and producer with whom she shared a love of music. Aretha spoke about her friendship with Smokey Robinson in a 1991 interview with Joan Rivers on The Joan Rivers Show.
Smokey and my brother were great friends. My sister and I were big fans of the Flamingos, and Smokey was trying to break into the business with the Miracles. And my sister and I taught them some of the Flamingos' choreography. We knew it all.
However, even in childhood, Aretha had to deal with many adult issues. After her parents' divorce, Aretha would travel back and forth between her mother, Barbara Siggers Franklin, and her father, C.L. Franklin's houses, until her mother died of a heart attack in 1952, when Aretha was just 10 years old. The sudden loss was overwhelming, and it is said that Aretha barely spoke for months following her mother's death, which left C.L. Franklin to raise Aretha and her siblings as a single father. 2 years later, Aretha became a mother herself when she had her first son, Clarence, at 12 years old, then going on to have Edward, her second son, 2 years following that. Thankfully, Aretha had a strong support system in her family, in particular her father and the church at which he was a minister, New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit. Aretha had grown up in the church, which in the 1999 Fresh Air interview with Terry Gross, Aretha credited for providing structure in her young life.
My upbringing was in the church. We had to attend regularly. And, of course, the church provided a training ground for me, so to speak, as a young vocalist, and certainly gave me all of the spiritual values that I needed as a young lady.
The church also introduced Aretha to gospel, which heavily influenced her singing throughout her career, a fact which, in her 1991 interview with Joan Rivers on The Joan Rivers Show, Aretha said she is thankful for.
Gospel is my background, and thank God for that.
Her involvement in singing at New Bethel Baptist Church gave Aretha her first musical platform when her father began managing her at 12 years old, subsequently procuring her a record deal with JVB Records to record gospel songs, such as Precious Lord Part 1 in the church building, which were later released on the 1956 album Songs of Faith, Aretha Gospel. Aretha's father continued to have a significant impact on her life and career, and is one of the few personal topics that she would willingly discuss. In fact, it was perhaps owing to her father that Aretha chose to pursue music at all, as she revealed in an interview with Ed Bradley of CBS's 60 Minutes in 1990 that her father had pushed her into music, despite her initial hesitance.
They would have me stand on a little chair and sing. I really didn't want to sing at first, but my dad insisted that I do.
After her first taste of stardom in New York, it was her father who ensured she remained grounded and not get caught up in the successes she had experienced. Aretha spoke about this in her 1998 interview with Laurie Brown on CBS.
Everyone else was working, my sisters and cousin, and my dad came in, and I was just standing there watching them do what they were doing. They were sweeping and vacuuming and things like that. And he said, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "What do you mean, what's the matter with me?" He said, "Why aren't you helping to clean this house?" I said, "I'm a star. I'm not supposed to do that. I've been to New York." He said, "Well, listen, Star, you better get in the kitchen and introduce yourself to all those dirty dishes in there." And I have not been a star since.
As the civil rights movement picked up, C.L. Franklin became wildly popular for his sermons and traveled the country delivering speeches. Through his activism, C.L. Franklin acquired fame and came to meet many well-known people, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., forging connections which he capitalized on to help boost Aretha's career. Aretha herself toured with her father and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through the Deep South amidst this time of turbulent racial relations, giving gospel concerts, and discussed the experience in the 1999 Fresh Air interview with Terry Gross.
Well, it certainly was not what I was used to or accustomed to in Detroit, but on the other hand, it was not that bad. We didn't have extreme experiences of any kind, but there were times that we were asked to go to the back of the restaurant, say, or we couldn't use the bathrooms.
In adulthood, Aretha took on her father's values and went on to become a passionate activist herself, donating money and performing at civil rights protests. One of her biggest hits, Respect, a cover Aretha modified of Otis Redding's original song, became an anthem for the civil rights movement, which she talked about with Wendy Williams during her appearance on The Wendy Williams Show in 2011.
It became an anthem for the civil rights movement.
Yes, it did become their mantra. That's true.
What an honor.
It was a battle cry, yeah. My sister Carolyn and I put that together, my younger sister Carolyn.
You're here with the Aretha Franklin Artist Spotlight on WGLZ Radio. Along with civil rights, Aretha also fought for women's equality, her song Think echoing the civil rights anthem Respect in the message of empowerment and championing the voices of women who had been oppressed. Co-written with Aretha's first husband, Ted White, whom she divorced soon after its release, Think is one of the only hit songs to which Aretha contributed original lyrics, perhaps as a means to express her anguish in her marriage, as it later came out that Ted White had allegedly been domestically abusive. Throughout her life, Aretha struggled with a myriad of health issues which she mostly refused to talk about. However, after having to cancel her tour to seek medical assistance, Aretha gave Wendy Williams a little insight into the issue on a 2011 episode of The Wendy Williams Show.
From what I heard, it started with you had a pain in your side?
Yes, that was my first inkling that something was not what it should be. The pain was so hard, though, it almost brought me to my knees.
Despite the many ailments she endured, Aretha continued to be an immensely powerful performer, even in her final years before her death in 2018 at the age of 76. Her 2015 performance at the Kennedy Center Honors Ceremony was a standout performance for Aretha at the age of 73. Through her many trials and tribulations in life, Aretha rose above it all and made a long-lasting career, and her reputation will surely endure far beyond her lifetime. Overcoming a tough childhood, difficult relationships, the fight for equal rights, and suffering such profound loss at an early age only fueled Aretha in her musical inspiration, and she channeled these experiences into her performances to craft emotionally charged music that would resonate with the experiences of so many and would empower and uplift them. This has been the Artist Spotlight on WGLZ Radio, where we have only scratched the surface of such a vast and interesting life. If ever there was a soul legend that commanded respect, it certainly was Aretha Louise Franklin.